Well, in the digital age, it's no surprise that how we manage our social media accounts can easily come into play when we're in the market for a job. But in what ways can employers legally use that info to screen potential candidates? Joining me now is Randall Cole, a lawyer with the Dada Man firm who specializes in employment law. Thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, when we're talking about the hiring process, what is fair game for employers to kind of snoop around in? What can they look at?
Well, basically, at this point, we're recommending that employers and organizations use social media as a supplement to their standard hiring policies. And specifically to your question, they can use anything that's in the general public domain to inquire about an applicant's social media background.
So if you're doing those public posts on Facebook or anything like that, that's all free range for them.
Exactly, and what an employer shouldn't do in the application process is to ask an employee for their specific passwords or account information. So keep it general in the interview process.
Absolutely, and so, I read one of your articles and it was talking about how one person specifically should be doing the review process. Why is that?
Exactly. One person from the company should be designated so that you have a uniform policy, that a consistent practice is undertaken by the company, and also a company should adopt an all or none policy to avoid any discriminatory practices that might be alleged by a potential applicant.
And when should this social media review be done in the hiring process?
Good question. That should be done after the first interview. Again, you don't want to come into any pitfalls or allegations of discrimination. So wait until after the interview to do a background check on someone for social media purposes.
Think about it like dating, right? You don't want to screen someone on Facebook before you have a first date with them. You want to kind of get to know them.
Exactly.
That's great. And so when we transition and now we are an employee, where does the game change a little bit for social media rules? What should we know about?
Well, there's a federal law that allows employers, and we recommend that our employers have written policies, that an employee has no expectation of privacy with respect to any computer or electronic device that they may use for a company's business purposes. So all employees should be careful about what they're doing on company equipment because, again, that's fair game for the employer to look at.
Even if they are on their own accounts but using a company laptop.
Equipment.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, and so what if an employer sees something that might raise a red flag? How should they approach it so they're not kind of in some legal gray area?
Well, I generally recommend that they first talk to that person. A lot of times someone might have a lapse of judgment, for example, or a lot of times social media accounts can be hacked. So it's the best practice to go to the source, talk to that employee first, and when in doubt, consult a labor and employment attorney.
Perfect. Randall, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good insight. I'm sending it back to you guys.